Are you ready to create your extraordinary life? As a passionate and driven, energetic coach, armed with my 60 years of wisdom, life, business experiences, and knowledge, I guide and help others uncover what keeps them stuck by helping them create a new mindset, leading to their becoming the person they only dreamed about. I'm Terry Yoffe and have 8 decades of living on this planet. And the one thing that I've learned is that you start to create change by changing yourself. Every podcast episode will inspire you to confront your limiting stories, take bold steps, and create the extraordinary life you deserve.
Divorce is not a bad thing. Divorce is a decision that is made consciously, and it's about living your fullest life.
Divorce can leave you reeling from the emotional scars of now confronting being alone or betrayed. Hope Firsel, a certified divorce coach who is herself divorced, understands the toll it took on her family, and her life. She talks to us about how she is helping others transform one of life's difficult times into powerful new beginnings. Her conversations shift women from overwhelm to clarity, confidence, and empowerment. Welcome. Today, I am so honored to have Hope Firsel with us. Hope is an amazing woman that has been through a lot and yet has been a survivor and thriver. So, Hope, I welcome you.
Thank you. What an honor it is to be here.
Thank you, sweetie. So, Hope, tell us a little bit as we pull the curtain back. I love to do this. A little bit about your own struggles, your own challenges that you've had that brought you to becoming a divorce coach, which I think is so well needed.
Yeah. Well, I have been through infertility and then cancer and then divorce after 18 years of marriage. And all of those experiences enlightened me to understanding how we can control our mind through trauma, through the difficult times, and our emotions and our spiritual self, so that we can come through those experiences wiser, stronger, and more aligned with our internal self. Through my own work during those difficult times with my own coaches and my own therapists, I learned the techniques, and I learned how someone being there for me provided me with the energy I needed. And it gave me such enthusiasm to continue and go deeper in my professional career of therapy and coaching.
I love to hear when people go back and talk about their own struggles and how that's their story helped them to become who they are today. So I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about what it was like going through the divorce. Was it something you initiated? Was it what your husband initiated? Was it a combo? How did you feel afterwards? So our listeners can appreciate and certainly understand, not that everyone's is the same.
Well, we had been in couples therapy, and it was a mutual decision. We had been working really hard, both of us, to do what we could to save the marriage. Both of us had not lived through a divorce personally in terms of our parents or friends or family. We were really one of the first in both of our families. So we really were committed to trying to keep the unit together. But it became clear that we were not living in our best selves. We were not able to be at our best as a married couple. So the divorce was mutual, and it still was so heartbreaking I spent a good year. They talk about a fight or flight mode that you can get in. I was in the fawn mode where I really had a hard time finding energy. I had a hard time getting back to life. I was very quiet and I was at home a lot, in my bed a lot, just sad. And I know now as a divorce coach, I was in the mourning stage, mourning what wasn't going to be, the loss of the dreams that I had created with this person and had already lived together and been together for 20 years. So I really had to process that and let go of that so that then I could begin to dream again and build new dreams. And these dreams are built around me and what I love and my teenage boys now and our new unit. And so I'm about 5 years out from the divorce, and it was a very difficult, very painful process. And what I also learned was how overwhelming the legal and the financial aspects can be. I had worked in corporate America with the C-suite during mergers and acquisitions and had gone to the London School of Economics. So I was familiar with business and, big meetings and big discussions, and I was overwhelmed. So I really sat back and thought about those women who had not been around such big discussions and have not really understood finances or their own personal finances or their legal rights. So as a divorce coach, I not only help them emotionally and spiritually, but also try to help guide them through what they're learning from their lawyers and their financial planners so that we understand our current state before we begin to manifest the future vision of ourselves.
Women like you that have had a leg up, so to speak, that you had an idea of the whole legality of divorce and what it meant and all of that part of it, which for someone that's not that well known about it, put on top of it all of the emotional. And I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's a storm. And I had not done any of the budgeting or numbers for our home. My ex-husband, he took care of all that. So understanding what my budget was, that it took a long time for me to get my arms around it.
So when you work with women, do you work with men or is it just women primarily?
Primarily women.
When you start to work with them, what is their emotional state? I mean, divorce comes in many different looks. One civil like yours, or one that's not so civil, where it becomes so painful for people. Tell us a little bit about the process that you go through with women that come to you. They come to you feeling what? Lonely, abandoned, shock. What do I do now?
I work with so many women, and like you said, every divorce is unique. A lot of times I'm also dealing with anger, women who are angry, who are enraged. Also, a lot of what I do is help them decipher through the drama, the story that led up to this, and filter out, the truths that you want to hold on to. It takes time, and in a safe space with me, someone who's been through it, we can work through what brought you here and talk. I mean, there's stories and, the pain that is there and the resentment and the anger. And if he did this and he did that, and we got to get through all of that to then really determine what's most important to this individual in this process after letting go of all that. And I think it's really important that you work through that with a therapist or a coach rather than your lawyer. And that's why a lot of divorce lawyers will bring me in, because they're getting stuck in certain places with the client because of emotions, and they're not able to be strategic and smart and not able to allow their team to do what they need to. For instance, I had a client that really wanted to stop all the work and focus on learning when an affair had started. So the legal team is working really hard, and now they are supposed to stop all those efforts to get the phone records. She wants to know exactly when the first conversation happened, for instance. And so we have to work through that. Or I have other clients that are brought in because they simply are making a bad decision by holding on to the home. It's financially irresponsible, and we work through letting go of that and welcoming in other financial opportunities. Those are examples. And now I am launching a divorce recovery group in Boca Raton and online. And in that group, we are working through a book process by Bruce Fisher, and it has 19 steps that you go through to rebuild your life after divorce. And the first part of it is letting go of the anger and the fear and the guilt and the resentment. The second half is about the rebuilding and seeing the future and creating it. But first, we do need to let go of those wounds, of that anger that people carry around, which is like bricks on your back.
So as you talk, it really sounds like, and what came to my mind was somebody died, when you talk about, and perhaps in their mind, a part of them, especially if they got, I don't know, the age range that you work with when people get married and when they get divorced. I mean, some point you brought up about this particular woman wanted to know, I assume her husband was having an affair. When the affair started, that can't be too beneficial to her growth. And it's almost like I need to know all of the details, which probably don't serve her at all.
You're right. I mean, at some point we accept that there was another woman, another relationship, and to deal with that and not need the specific date or time. That's just distracting us. But to come to truth with what is very important. And I think after a relationship ends, it's important to not throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there's learnings in there. What role did you play in that relationship that perhaps you want to work on? What insecurities, what feelings of shame or guilt that we can work through now so we don't recreate that in perhaps our next relationship. So there's a lot of learnings to be had, and to own your part. And it may not just be your part in perhaps the arguments or whatnot, but what did you allow? What relationship were you in that did not serve you best? How were you allowing yourself to be talked to or treated in your own home? For instance, a lot of women, we need to look at that. And that's a role that you play. And it is a death. It is a death of a union. That union is no more, and we need to mourn it. And mourning mourning someone that is alive is very painful. That was probably for me the hardest part. You see the person and you're still co-parenting perhaps, so you still have to work together, but yet they are no longer your person. And that is a death, and you mourn and you grieve. And I hope that all my clients, I'm giving them a place to do that, because we want to honor that union. And then what I like to say is then we have a reunion with ourselves. So it's the end of that union, but this is also a beautiful time to reunion with who you are, what brings you to life, what excites you, and who were you before you were a wife? Before you were in this union where you had compromises, what lit you up? What excites you? Where are your strengths? And we want to tap into that, and we want to create a future based on that.
I just love it. So, is there a specific age range that you find people come to you? Maybe they got married in their early 20s or mid 20s, or before they actually had a chance to form their own being. What I think, I got married at 40.
You were smart.
I had a lot to do to find who I was. And I've been married. This year will be 42 years.
Congratulations.
What I found is younger people get married to be part of somebody, to be a whole. Two people together makes them a whole. They feel they're half a person. It used to be that way when I was growing up and people were getting married in their 20s. And, I realized I had so much work to do on myself that just wasn't in the cards for me. And I came to realize I needed to figure out who I was before I chose to get married and come as a whole person to a marriage. So I'm just curious, the age range, and when you do speak to your clients, I'm wondering if they echo back some of what I said. Hope has more to share, but first, a short word from Try Coaching. How do you handle boundaries? Do you say sure when you really mean no? And by saying no, you believe that you won't be liked, friends will turn against you, or anything else that you might come up with. In case you weren't aware, no is a complete sentence, and setting boundaries lets folks know that you value yourself, and as a human being, you have the right to say yes and no with no strings attached. I can help you, as I also couldn't say no. Please reach out and let's start a conversation. Now back to the podcast.
It's interesting. I've worked with women in so many different scenarios. So it's hard to say, really, because I have a woman who was only married a few years. And it's just because she had waited, she had such hopes. And when that failed, it was really traumatizing. So, no, I can't say there's specifics around it. I do know, like myself, I was married at 27. It was different than had I been married after a life of a career and, having my own home or, we built together. So it required a lot of rewiring, a lot of letting go. We had grown up together. Truthfully, and then the ages varies so much. I mean, I'm working with two women right now where I formed a group for us so that they could afford me and we could have a community. And one is 65, the other 72, and they are finding their words now to ask for a divorce. And they have been married, since they were in their 20s.
What brings someone to the point of asking for a divorce at 65, 70, 75, when they got married in their 20s? I guess, they had kids. If I'm curious, perhaps our audience is curious too.
Well, you know what? They call it a gray divorce. And I relocated from Chicago to Boca Raton. So we have a lot of discussion around it here with a big senior community. And a lot of what I'm finding is it's been a struggle their whole lives. The marriage has been a struggle. And they are talking about issues that go back to when they were first buying a house, the resentment they have, resentment to having to stay home or not stay home when the kids, and it's built and it's built and it's built. And now they're looking at the next chapter, perhaps the last chapter. And it's almost a retirement plan, really. And that's what I tell them. Their finances are all intertwined. They're not each being responsible as they would like to see. So it's time for them to own their finances and to grow old peacefully. And if they're not able to be a partner and support each other, then it makes sense. It makes sense that they find their own places of rest and determine how they will use their retirement funds. But that, of course, it's a long discussion, and it's nothing that anyone takes easily. Nobody I've ever spoken to takes it lightly. They say, I had read that, well, most women, I think it's over 70% of divorces are initiated by the women, and it takes about 5 years for a woman to pull the trigger. So we have these thoughts, and then you spend some time working it out in different ways. Some may go into deep therapy on their own for a while, or focus on the children for a while, things that take their attention off the nature of their romantic marriage partner. And then when it gets quiet and they're ready to talk about, how do I want to grow old, they're ready to say, not like this.
That's got to be an aha moment for somebody, for sure. And to decide older, and I've certainly heard about it and read about it, and probably have known some that have decided to do that.
But more common is, I think it's kind of 8 years, and then it's 20 years. There's definitely time periods where you'll see divorce. And for instance, I do have a lot of clients where the children are off to college, and they look at their partner and it's not who they want to be with in this second chapter of their life, where they're no longer a caregiver for their children. And that happens. Divorce is not a bad thing. Divorce is a decision that is made consciously, and it's about living your fullest life.
Right.
And it's sad, and it is a death of that union. And we are strong, and we can carry on into a beautiful next chapter. And that's why I'm so excited about the divorce recovery work that I'm doing now.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate that I'm partnering with a therapist, Barbara Bennett, and she's been running these groups in New York, out east, for many, many, many years, very successfully. And so she has relocated to South Florida, and we're working together now. So I'll be leveraging a lot of her curriculum and then a lot of my work. And the groups, what I like is we're really talking about a group of around 10 or 12. I really don't like to max out anything bigger than that. And when you're in community, whether we're online or in person, you are able to feel such freedom and to be seen when it's by those that have walked in your shoes, and while every divorce is different, and that's why we have to talk, when we talk about the legal and the financial, I really, really hope that my clients aren't looking to each other for information, because the numbers are different. Statewide, they're different. But when we talk about the emotions, the first half of this curriculum that we're doing is about letting go of the guilt and the shame. And the next half is about recreating with excitement. And when you think that over half of our families end in divorce, then that motivates me that we can do better, that we are starting to do better at the divorce process, because we need those women from that divorce to come back to their home, to their community, to their jobs, to their neighbors, as strong individuals to serve our world, right? If you come back broken and bitter and sad, it doesn't help anybody.
And I can imagine that people feel that way, betrayed. What happened? Why did they, whatever it might be. So I love the alignment with the therapist and with you, because therapy, I am sure, plays a big part in helping somebody really look inward, and then having you be there as their divorce coach to help them rewrite their next chapters.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the most exciting work I've done. I'm just thrilled. And I'm almost 5 years out from my divorce, and I'm only now feeling really that I'm in this next chapter. It took me so many years. And that's why this divorce recovery group is for someone who's maybe in the process or 5 or even 10 years out. It is never too late to clean up, right? The emotional toxins that live within you.
To go from this angry, betrayed, bitter stage, which nobody wants to live in for the rest of their lives, to empowerment and recreating and writing their own story is amazing and so needed today for people who, divorce is divorce. And if people don't, I don't know, what I've seen is they go on to meet another person that's just like the other person, maybe a different suit or a different name, but it's, they go to the same.
And that's because we usually choose comfort. I know the science shows that even if it's not a good situation, the human tendency is to go towards what we know. And so it's a beautiful time to break free of, what kind of imprint has been put in you in terms of what a husband and wife or a relationship looks like, and recreate that. And first, it's really important to date yourself. It's really important after the divorce that you have the confidence to date yourself, to be with yourself. Like you said, you weren't ready till you were 40. It's important that you know how to take care of yourself. You know how to light yourself up. I moved to Boca. I have my twin teenage boys, but I didn't know anyone really. I have a few friends, but I started over and I did it physically. And I learned how strong I am, and I learned how to be independent. And it's a beautiful feeling. And knowing now if I choose to have a partner, it's going to be for all the right reasons.
And you come to a relationship whole, not looking for the other person to make you whole.
And oftentimes that is where the marriage breakdown is that you have these unexpected wishes for the partner to be all of these things. And it's important that you find relationships in other things than romance, that you find ways to give back to the world that makes you feel good, to be a part of the world rather than focusing everything and putting everything on that one relationship.
So interesting, so informative. So, Hope, if anyone listening wanted to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
I'm hopefirsel.com, which is my name, so they can see me on my website, HOPEFIRSEL.com. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Hope Firsel. And I'm always open to a text message as well. And I'm at 773-848-9349. You wouldn't believe when I open myself up like that, available for text. When people are in a really big crisis, that number can come in handy because I am available 24/7. I really am. I have clients, for instance, this group, we meet one Sunday every 3 weeks. However, they text and email me throughout the times, and I'm always there to pick up the phone because when you are in a trauma or a crisis, it's not 9 to 5.
As we wrap up, what are 1 or 2 nuggets that you can leave our audience with?
The first tip is to know that you are enough. No matter what you are going through, if your eyes open today and you're breathing and you're here, you are a gift. You are a miracle. And I learned that from my facing stage 3 colon cancer when I was 32 with 2 babies at home. You are enough. You are here. And the second is that you need to take care of you. And you need to understand that you are a treasure. You are a gift. You offer something to the world that nobody else does. And you need to take the time to decipher what that is and go do it.
Thank you. This has been Conversations about Creating Change. And Hope Firsel, you are certainly creating change by the work you are doing with women that really need to create their own changes. Thank you, Hope, so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure, and listening to you is truly eye-opening. I so appreciate your being here.
Oh, thank you for the privilege and honor. Really, I admire all of your work and always have.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you so much. We just heard Hope's compelling and extraordinary conversation about divorce and the emotions one goes through until they process the pain and begin to grow as individuals apart from their once other half. If you know someone going through a divorce, please share this episode. If you love what you heard, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating and review. Also, please visit my website, trycoaching.com. My next guest is Christian Ray Flores, a multifaceted professional that has lived in many places around the world. You won't want to miss this episode as Christian talks to us about how his unique background, life, and travels has inspired him to help others create the changes they are looking for through personal development, business, and creativity.